knitted with love. This is the story of a community that is knitting up confidence for women who undergo mastectomy. They're called Saaisha, and we'll speak to them today to find out more about the work they do and how those of you who are into knitting, crochet can join them and help them in this really noble work. This event is part of the many free and informative talks that we have at Silver Talkies. Most of you here know us, but for those of you who don't, here's a little bit about our work. So Silver Talkies is a social impact organization. What do we mean by that? Our mission is to enable and empower older adults to live an active, healthy life and make loneliness, boredom, absolute non-issues. This is something many older adults in our country go through simply because our lives have now become very, separated. Families are in different cities, countries, simply because of work, because of multiple requirements, education, work. We live in apartments now instead of communities like earlier. And sometimes, even though, you may be an extremely positive person, you may need something to build that sense of community. It may not always be available. So that is what we try to do. And the way we do that is through our events, workshops, and online classes. And most importantly, through our club, the Silver Talkies Club. Many of our members are here today. And we will share the links to our website and our social media pages. And you can take a look at that later to find out more. We also have, like I mentioned, regular online classes going on. Everything is virtual now. That's where we made a home during the pandemic. And we have classes going on in fitness, music, and multiple things. We have classes on technology. If you heard just now, we had technology classes on languages. So do give us a look. We also run one of the few digital magazines for older adults in India. So, you also have a source of information here. And like I mentioned, since our club is virtual, you can join us from anywhere in the world. In fact, one of our members who will speak today is joining us from Amsterdam. Today, we have Jayashree Ratan. Thank you for being here, Jayashree, and welcome to Silver Talkies Live. Jayashree is the founder of Saaisha India Foundation, who help Indian women in the most unique way. Ms. Ratan brought together a community of women to crochet prostheses for women who have undergone mastectomies. And, most of us would know the amount of, the loss of confidence, the loss of, the huge emotional impact a mastectomy would have on a breast cancer survivor. The prostheses that's made by Saaisha are called Prostheses Knockers, and they are soft, lightweight, and an eco-friendly alternative to the usual breast implants. Saaisha was established in 2018, and Jayashree has had a group of passionate volunteers, some of whom are here today, and they work towards bringing cheer to the lives of women and children and making a tangible difference. They're registered with knittedknockers.org of USA, who are pioneers in providing knitted knockers in America. And these knockers made by the volunteers are provided free to the beneficiaries. And this has entirely been Jayashree's brainchild. She realized the urgent need to find a solution for many women in India who undergo mastectomy. So today we'll be talking to her more to find out what inspired her and how did this story come about. We also have Rajam Subramaniam, our member who's joining us from Amsterdam. She's a volunteer at Saaisha India Foundation, and she continues to knit several knockers during her spare time. So with that, I won't take any more time. Jayashree, over to you. Please tell us all about this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Reshmi. And I thank Silver Talkies for giving me the opportunity to talk to so many of the members and preferably the older ones that we're talking about, the senior people. And that helps us in the way that they are the ones who really can, make use of the time that they have to help others by knitting and crocheting knockers, which is what we do. I have been associated, I would say, even from a very young age, or with older people. Well, not only just my family. I have been much earlier. I don't know, there's a similar one called Dignity Dialogues Foundation, run by Mrs. Shilu Srinivasan. When I was younger, and my aunt was there, which is a family friend of ours, and I was associated with them. And I've done a lot of work for the Mercy Home, the Little Sisters of the Poor. So this was something, so it's there, doing charity or doing something like this has always been there. And that's how I think, that's what has helped me in my work that I'm doing today, which is Saaisha India Foundation, which is doing knockers for the mastectomy patients. I'd just like to give a small presentation of what we are doing and why we are doing this. As many of you are aware that cancer is one of the major diseases in India, or all over the world actually. And of the cancer that is there for women, there's a growing incidence. Cancer is nearly, I think, 25% of all the cancer is breast cancer. And this is, how to put it up, my experience of these 3-4 years has told me breast cancer, cervical cancer, colorectal cancer, and uterine cancer, the 4 major cancers that are affecting women, out of which breast cancer is 25% of the total cancer. And it's frightening to say that 1 in 28 women is likely to develop breast cancer during her lifetime. I mean, that is really shocking. I mean, just 28 people, 1 in 28 is definitely good. And the reason is also because one of the reasons why cancer is so prevalent, and it is maybe a survival rate is very low in our country, is because of lack of awareness about cancer, per se, breast cancer, and also poor screening. And lack of awareness is people think that this cannot happen to me. I don't have such a thing, It's not that. Cancer is curable to the extent you screen it and you diagnose it at a very early stage, and then it is possible to get cured of cancer. Yes, you have to take precautions. You have to do everything that has to be done, but it is not a life-taking disease. But we have made it one because of poor awareness and poor screening. And screening also is another reason is the financial constraints that we have. We have a lot of people who cannot afford to, as you know, we just wait for the final moment and then we go to the doctor. We have to go to the doctor the very minute we see something. So these are some of the reasons why we are having this. And once you have breast cancer, what does a woman go through? I mean, I'm sure I would not be able to talk about it as much as a survivor herself. But there are not many survivors who want to come out and talk about it. And especially when it comes to breast cancer, I have learned from my experience that the women are saying it is very different cancer from any of the other cancers that you may have. This creates, because a breast is a part of being a woman, a mother, anything. So, so that when you lose that, it creates a lot of not just body image issues, but also anxiety, depression, loneliness. And another major thing is fear. The fear of how will I look without this? What is going to happen? Who is going to accept me? How am I to go be in the family? How will I face outsiders? And is this going to be, will it recur again into the other breast? Will my daughter get it? These are various questions that keep popping up. And they look for answers, and people are there to help. But again, nobody wants to talk about it. That is when we feel, we need to pay a listening ear to anybody who has this problem and just not judge, but try to help them out. Then this I mean, this is always there. These are all things that I was aware of. And how did I come into knitted knockers? I travel to the US very often. And one of my trips I do some, just as now Rajam does something, I used to do whatever charity I could. And while browsing the internet, I came about something called the knitted knockers. And the word knockers is what was really, struck me. I said, what is this knockers? We only know about the door knocker or something knocking, but knitted knocker. So that is when I went through the knitted knockers, and I found that it was something really wonderful that they were doing. I said, oh my God, something is like this. And I had never seen a knocker. So I just went onto the website and looked up. They had patterns, and I made one or two of them and sent it over to them. That is how I started it. And as I said, this is something we've already spoken about, the survivor wondering how she's going to do. So how did I start this? One of the trips when I came back to India, a friend of mine had mastectomy, and this is something you can't talk openly to others. So when I just went to meet her, I said, you had mastectomy done. What do you do in its place? What have you used in its place? She said, I roll up a handkerchief maybe or a hand towel and I use it. I said, would you mind trying out something called a knocker, which is crocheted and knitted processes, which I've seen in the US. I have made it. Would you like to try it out for me? Because see, I was not aware if this was going to be accepted in this country, right? So I needed somebody to try it out. So when she said, yeah, I don't mind. So I made a couple and I gave it to her. And the next week after I sent it over, the next day she calls up and she was in tears. She said, Jayashree, this is so wonderful. Why can't you give this to so many of us who are suffering? We're all prepared to pay for it too, because we don't have any other alternative. I said, okay, that set me really, thinking. And I called up a couple of my friends, 4 or 5 of my friends, and I asked them, this is something that I have seen in the US, and this is what this friend of mine who used it told me. Do you think it's workable? They said, yeah, let's try it out. Unless we try it out, we are not going to know. And to be really honest, when I started it in March of 2018, I never thought it's going to be this big. I thought, yeah, 4 or 5 of us are going to do it for some time, and let's see how it goes. I had absolutely no idea of how it was going to go. It was a real, I think it was an experiment I was trying to do. And then what I did was I said, okay, fine. Then I went to the Knitted Knockers website just because I had gone through the site and I found it was very useful information. And I found that I could sign up as a provider in India. So I got my husband, we got together, I talked to him. He, as usual, he said, this is one of your things, right? This is one of the things that you do. I do so many things just for heck of it, just for knowing about it. So he thought maybe this is the same thing. Then he helped me, of course, in getting a letter drafted and signed, and I sent it to the Knitted Knockers, and they said fine, and they put me on their registry as a provider in India. That's how Knitted Knockers, and that is how I looked for a name, Saaisha. I looked for an Indian name. I didn't want to use the name Knitted Knockers India. I looked for the name. I wanted a very Indian name, and I got Knitted Knockers. I got Saaisha India. And at that time, when I browsed, the meaning for Saaisha was meaningful life. And that was another thing which, I said, this is wonderful. So it's giving meaningful life to a woman who's had a mastectomy. So I said, yes, let's go with the name Saaisha India. That's how Saaisha India was born in March of 2018. And it's been a very trying time, but very, very fruitful and very satisfactory down the lane what we have gone through. The last 3 years, I have spoken to more than 350 volunteers. We don't have that many, but around about 300 at least, and 3,300 beneficiaries at least. Because as far as I do talk to most of the benefits, I talk to every volunteer who comes into our team, because I like to know, I explain the ethos of Saaisha and what we do and how we go about it. And there is no transaction of any money, and how it's going to be given free to the people. And another important thing I like to tell my volunteers is we don't have any targets. We are not target based. So it is at your own time. And beneficiaries, I've spoken to more than 3,000 beneficiaries, and I've learned a lot from each of these beneficiaries whom I've spoken to. And it has helped me in my journey to Saaisha going ahead. We have volunteers across the globe. We have about UAE, we have 71 or so. UAE, which is Abu Dhabi and UAE together. And India, we have about 213. And in Kuwait also, we have about 19. We have a couple of them in Muscat. We have a couple in Singapore. We have a couple in Canada. We are growing. And the only thing is we give it only to the patients in India. We do not give it abroad. And all these ladies who are abroad take yarn from us and bring it back to India. The problems I have, while talking with the beneficiaries, I have realized that there's a lot of time and they just want a silent listener. There's so much of emotional trauma that they have gone through, and they have not been able to speak to anybody. So there's many a time when I'm just holding on the phone for about 15, 20 minutes and just saying, yes, things will get better. Don't worry. I'm so happy you're better. These are the words I give in comfort. And I've come across people saying that the family doesn't support them, in the sense they don't even bother to find out if there was anything that they needed in place of the mastectomy, the breast that they've lost. And they're not even bothered to check. It's just they went for the surgery, they got the surgery done, and they came home. That is very difficult to, it's very difficult to accept. I agree. Many of the spouses are very supportive, but there are a few who have been not at all supportive, and they have actually, it's very sad. I don't want to say such sad stories, but it is there. And then the main thing the women found was, after breast cancer, breast mastectomy done, they lose the confidence and they are not able to socialize. They find it very difficult to go out into the world because they feel because that is something which is very obvious, right? Because all of us are here, women, even if men are there, I don't mind it, but it's very obvious for a woman. A woman without a breast is very obvious. So the confidence and poise is what they really miss. So I think our knockers have helped them in many ways to do that. And these are also called knockers, and we call them huggable because it is really huggable. And these are made out of 100% mercerized cotton. They look like wool, but it is not. It's 100% cotton. And they are made and knitted or crocheted by the volunteers. And we fill them with fiber, polyfiber, virgin polyfiber. And then we distribute it to the patients. We send it by post, free of cost. There are no charges to them. And these knockers, we send it to them free of cost, no postal charges. And we have our website, saaishaindia.org. We have our social media platforms. We have a YouTube. We have a Facebook. We also have an Instagram, and every part of a social media platform is managed by our volunteers, and they're doing a wonderful job. These volunteers are such a blessing. They have made knockers awareness videos. What is a knocker? Because when we were going around, we had a lot of problems explaining what a knocker is. And these days, when we can't go physically to show pieces, these volunteers came up and done knocker awareness videos in 10 languages. 10 languages. I mean, English, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada, Marathi, Gujarati, Bengali, and Punjabi. We got it done in 10 languages. And it's all been done by the volunteers themselves. This is something which we can share with people. You can put it in your WhatsApp groups or your other media so people know what a knocker is. And they just have to call us up with the numbers and the email IDs that are there. And we supply the knockers to them. These would be the details that we ask. We ask them to email us these particulars. It is just name, full address with postal code, PIN code, because we use the Indian Postal Service registered parcel, which is very economical for us, and it is definitely reaches the doorstep of the person. As long as the PIN code is right, it reaches him. So we use only the Indian Postal Service, and we need a mobile number. We need their email ID because they're going to email us things, and single or double mastectomy. If it's a single mastectomy, we give them 2 pieces. If it is double, we give them 4. Then I need the bra and the cup size. When operated, the name of the doctor and the hospital. This is all the information that we need. We are not going to use this information in any other way. It is basically just testimonials. Once we have given a beneficiary a knocker, maybe 4 or 5 months have been used. We have some of our volunteers calling, at least 1 or 2 of them, and getting these testimonials. Like the names here are changed because we want to keep them anonymous. Like one, Rachel has told us, thank you all the members. Thank you all the members of Saaisha for your noble work. Received with thanks 2 knockers. It's very soft and comfortable. I like the product very much. God bless you for all this appreciable effort to bring smiles to the deprived people. It really gives a kind of self-confidence for us. So this is this is the sort of testimonials we receive, and that's what we do. We call them, we did this once in October of last year. Then we had called up about 100 beneficiaries. About 20, 25 of our volunteers did get together and call them up, and we got this. This is something I got very recently from another beneficiary. You can read it yourself. I've used Saaisha product for the last 4 months and found it very comfortable. Being a working woman, dealing with several colleagues and clients daily. Earlier, I was somewhat reluctant to visit factory or offices due to the inferiority complex of my loss. I used several alternate products and was not comfortable with these. When I started to use Saaisha product for the beginning, I found it little bit of a change. And soon I felt comfortable with the product. It is soft and easy. Now I'm regularly using the same from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. I feel comfort and no complaints. I take this opportunity to thank Saaisha members and really appreciate the effort they are taking. So this was something which came very recently to me. And this sort of really, motivates. This is especially this testimony is of a working woman, a lady who's been going out, who's out of the house for more than 8 to 10 hours, 12 hours. And she has to face, this is a very young person. She has to face a lot of people in the outside world. And being a young person, it is not easy. It's even more difficult to have a mastectomy. So far, we have dispatched more than about 6,500 knockers since inception, which is in 2018. And we are going strong. There is another activity that we do besides knockers, because I felt some of our volunteers would like to have a break. Maybe once in about 3-4 months. We have committed ourselves to St. Jude's Child Care Center, India, where there are in a month 400 children undergoing cancer treatment. And these children are the age group between 0 to 14. So far, we have given them, we give them chemo caps. The pictures are there on the slides, made out of 100% mercerized cotton. We do not go for very dark colors because they have a lot of chemicals in them. So these are very light colors, but at the same time, bright ones. And so far, we have given them about 600 beanies. We started this in August of last year. So it's just about going to be we started in March of last year. So we've given about 600 so far. This is another activity which we are doing on a regular basis now. We have our social media handles and pages, which you can always access and see if you can pass the word around, and so that Saaisha is known to more people, doctors and patients alike. We have a social media page, and we made some flyers, all thanks to the volunteers, and they've all made these flyers, and brochures are there, which we can give to the doctors, all digital ones. We have these flyers, which are also digital. And we have some printed also, which we can put across places like, I would suggest the tailors, the lingerie shops, they are the places where women come, and they just have to look at it and call us. They don't have to call anybody else, and we are ready to give them the knockers. I always tell volunteers, I try to tell them by trying to be what I say they should be. Most of my volunteers, I would say, are driven by the passion to do what they're doing. You need to have passion and compassion, and not expansion and growth is not my aim. Because I feel expansion and growth automatically comes if you have the compassion and the passion. We have to be driven by sympathy, empathy, and no margins and no productivity. That's why I tell my volunteers, there is no target. You do as many as you can, whenever you can, and send it to me whenever you can. I have no ego at all because it is a common good. I have no problem in saying yes. I have no problem in saying sorry. I don't mind. If it's going to keep you happy, I'm fine. I'll say sorry. It doesn't hurt me to say sorry because I need to go ahead to the next step. I don't want to say, no, I'm bigger, you're bigger. No, I have never been disheartened. You can tell me a no. I keep asking you. I'll give you a gap and come back again, ask you, yes, can you do this for me? We'll again say a no, but it's perfectly all right. You keep trying, you'll always succeed. I accept people for what they are. With all their problems, they are doing so much. Many of my volunteers have a lot of problems, but they still come up with even 2-3 knockers. I'm very happy because it has given them that happiness to do this. Otherwise, they would not come out of their shell. I do not accept, as I said, I do not accept no. And there are many things we have to be bold and break a few of them for the well-being of the people of the underprivileged. If we want to do something for the poor and the less fortunate, we have to break from our own routine and our own rules. How can Silver Talkies help us? Yes, knitting and crocheting is something which is okay. More than that, if there are any of you are there counselors, because we do have requests from beneficiaries who want counseling help. And I feel they need help and I tell them we have so-and-so, you can please talk to them. We have a couple of volunteers who are doing this for us. Then it'll be, I'm talking because we want in different languages because we are pan-India, right? I had, for instance, I needed somebody to talk in Bengali and I had to hunt through my volunteers who could speak Bengali and just say, she just didn't want any counseling. She just wanted a person to listen to her. And believe it or not, this happened just sometime last week or so. Her husband called me and said, she is very depressed and you talk so nicely, you're spoken to. Why don't you talk to my wife? She knows only Bengali and smattering of Hindi. I said, okay, I'll talk to her in Hindi. I did speak to her and I said, don't worry, you will be all right. You're having treatment, you're going through chemo, you'll get through well, don't worry. And then I told her husband, I'll find somebody who can talk to her in Bengali. I just put in a word through a couple of my volunteers. One of them said, yeah, I can do Bengali. And she spoke to her the very same day. And believe it or not, she's been calling her every 2-3 days. And she says, Jayashree, I felt so happy talking to that lady. She felt very happy. And that is all that we need. Just a few words, 2 minutes of your time. I said, thank you so much for calling up that beneficiary. She said, no, don't thank me. I have to thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to somebody and alleviate a portion of her pain that she's going through. So that is what we want. And then we want you to talk to doctors and hospitals, connect us with them so that we can get through with the knockers for them. And any other way you can create awareness that knockers is there for free for the patients, for the mastectomy survivors, and they do not have to spend anything at all. This could definitely be used for them. So these are our contact details. Please do let us know, and we are here to help. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and listening to me going through this presentation and listening to whatever I had to say. I'm open up for any questions that you have. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you so much, Jayashree. It really is wonderful, the number of people you have been able to reach and even the number of volunteers. So, Jayashree, some things may be a little bit of a repeat, but the first thing that we would really like to ask you is this amazing community that you have put together, the volunteers and the beneficiaries, the volunteers who have come together to work for this cause. You did tell us a little bit about it, but tell us how it's spread, because it's not just in India, it's globally. You seem like 2 of your volunteers have joined us and one of them is joining from UAE, you told us. Rajam's there in Amsterdam right now. So how did this come about? Was it word of mouth? How was it?
It's just word of mouth. And I think I was destined to do this. I would believe in that because I have seen the hand of God in everything that I was doing. And it is only that because I haven't till October of, I think, 2020, we weren't even known in anything. Nobody knew about us except word of mouth. And I'd already had more than 150 volunteers there. It is only in 2020, October, I think Times of India or Hindu published an article I don't know how they came to know about it. They did come and ask me and publish an article. But every time an article comes out, we have more beneficiaries coming in, which is what I'm very happy about. More than, because I found my volunteers, when I tell them that I need knockers, like for instance, just before Rajam left, I told her I need A. Immediately, she sent me whatever A she could make before she could leave. I said, you're leaving, doesn't matter. She said, no, Jayashree, I'll make the A before I go. I mean, this is something which, I don't know. I think I've been blessed with the volunteers I have got, and it's only by word of mouth that somebody does something because there's no target. They like the way we work. We are very transparent, and they pass on the news to somebody else. As another person joins us, that's how it's been working. And I've been very lucky. That's all I can say.
Wow, that's really wonderful. In fact, the reason I'm asking, more on this question is people who are listening in may wish to join. There are, very talented people here. There are people who crochet. So what is the average age group of your volunteers? Is it across generations?
It's across generations. We have anywhere from, actually we have teenager volunteers too in the Middle East.
Wow.
Yeah, we have a group of volunteers, but they have been doing for a while now, for about a year, they've done a few pieces. But we have age group is between 18 to 35. We have about 28 volunteers. 36 to 60, we have 190 volunteers. 60 to 80, we have 75 volunteers. And 80 plus, we have 2 volunteers. And the ones that really make for us is 60 plus. Oh my God, you should see that enthusiasm. And they are non-stop crocheting and knitting. I don't know where they say, we are very happy, don't stop us. I have a lady who is, she's nearing 80. And her target is 1 knocker a day. I told her, please take care of your health. She's practically bedridden. Do not do this too much. I don't want you straining yourself. She says, Jayashree, main khush hu. Why do you want to stop me from being happy? I said, fine, but please take care of your health. And every month she sends me 30 pieces. So it's there right across all ages we have. And it's naturally, I think 50 plus is the one that really, contributes more to us because they have the time maybe and they have the time to do it. I have found out it is not the money at all. It is just the time and the willingness to do. And the 50 plus certainly have more time on their hands because the children are grown up and they can, the younger ones who are working, even working ladies, we have a few working ladies who still continue to work. They work, look after the family and do knockers.
It's a brilliant example of, really an intergenerational community coming together. That's so wonderful to know. So, there are questions, and this is a question we also had. How do you access the materials? That's a question Preeta also had. So I'm just taking it because it ties in.
Access the materials in sense, we have a couple of vendors for our yarn, not available in the market because we are looking at first mercerized cotton, which has to be soft. And what is available in the market is not very there's not much of mercerized cotton available, and it's a little too rough for us. We want very soft cotton. We have 2 vendors. We have 3 vendors, I think. At the moment, we have 3 vendors who give us the yarn that we want. So whoever wants, once they join us and I send them the welcome letter, I give them the details. They need to first, the process is, at the moment, we are very particular about the way our knockers are. We would not take any knockers from anybody at all. We want you to go through, we want you to give us a sample knocker. We first accept it as it's okay, and then only we ask you to make knockers. So we have started a training session. We are having training where we handhold you because we generally take people who already know to crochet or knit. We are not taking freshers because we are not able to hold, teach them. What happens is if the fresher is very young, I tell them, go to the YouTube, check out the earlier things and come. But we have an older person, it's difficult for them to understand. So we hold hands, we let them do it on any acrylic yarn. We okay it, then we ask them to buy the yarn, get it approved by our trainers, and only then we give them the okay to do the knockers. So we have, you need to email me that you're wanting to volunteer, and then I'll take it forward.
Okay, so that's the process you follow for recruiting volunteers. We'll come to beneficiaries now. And you mentioned that's a pretty huge number, 3,300 almost, you said. And one of the things that struck, you also do counseling, you speak to so many women. Do you sometimes have to convince some of the women to try this out?
No. They are ones, they have called me that they want the knocker, right? I have never gone and told them you need to use this. Many have come up because they have heard somebody using it and they found it was nice. They come to me and they take it from us before they talk. Like they call me up and they ask, you can see some of the hesitation when they call, even for a woman. And I'm talking, my husband doesn't answer the phone. Most of the time he doesn't. He says, the woman on the other side doesn't want to talk to me, right? So I answer the phone and she'll say, that's how, she's so hesitant in starting. Then I said, yes, we are Saaisha here, and whichever language I try, English or Hindi. And then I say, depending on her name, she says she's so-and-so, I guess she's from which country, state, and talk. And then I say, yeah, we are, we give knockers for cancer, breast cancer patients. I want cancer, I have cancer, I want this. And then she goes on to talk, it is so difficult. I don't know what to do. I'm so happy somebody told me about this, and this is what I suffer. This is what I do. And sometimes it happens that she does disclose a little more about her. Then I'll just ask, how many of you in the family? What do you do? I just inquire, just sort of. Then she says, yeah, my children are very small. I have not told my children that I have cancer. Nobody in my house knows about it. Only my husband knows. My mom doesn't know. These are small things that come about. And then I say, you need to talk to your mother also. You need to tell her that you have cancer. There was actually one lady who said, one husband called me and he said, my wife is taking treatment. Some of the husbands talk. They just want, somebody to talk to their wives. They're so supportive. He says, she doesn't want to go in for chemo because she says her hair will fall and she doesn't want to go for chemo. Now, see, as a knocker person, I can just say, this is not what I do, right? Please talk to somebody else. But I said, no. I said, how many of you in the house? He said, I have 2 grown sons and my wife is there and she doesn't want to go for treatment because of hair fall. But the doctor insists. I said, no, she has to go for treatment. Then I called her up and then I told the husband, I called the wife and I said, why don't you want to go for treatment? The doctors advised you to go for treatment. She says, no, chemo, hair will fall and then I don't want to go out like that. I can't wear a wig and all that. I said, hair will grow back in a couple of months after your treatment is over. She said, no. Then I called her husband. I said, what you do is now this weekend, all 3 of you in the house, go shave your heads off. Shave off your hair. All 4 of you are going to be bald. So it's okay. It doesn't matter. Each one is going to look at the other one. And you won't believe it. And I told the wife, I told him, I want you to take her for Wednesday to treatment. She's going and you need to give me a call. He calls me back on Thursday. He says, ma'am, she went for the treatment. And this week we all had a shave. And she's agreed to go for the treatment. I said, that's simple as that. It was as simple as that. You just think that you went to Tirupati or something and had your shave. Simple. Because the hair falls. And before the hair starts falling, you need to shave it off and not let it fall. And, nowadays there's a lot of difference in the treatment. It is not so bad, but then also that fear is there. So this is sort of counseling that you need to do. Sometimes it's a little more than that. Some of the things are very painful. They just a talk and I just listen. I just give a plain soft hearing to whatever they say and just keep quiet.
And that's a service that goes beyond just making the knocker.
Yeah.
Definitely goes beyond that. We were wondering if you have reached out to rural areas where awareness, availability may be really, really low. And most of the people reaching out to, are they urban women or also from rural areas?
We're getting it from both places because some of these hospitals where the women come from faraway places, they come for treatment. They're living in dharamshalas here locally. We have tried to reach out to some of the hospitals there, but those hospitals are not that, it was not effective. Through NGOs, we've gone to reach them out. And it so happens sometimes they say they went for the checkup and one patient said that she got this free from you, so I also want it. So can you send it to me? I'm leaving in a couple of days from this place. So we do have, and there are some doctors who are in the rural areas whom we have, over the period of 3 years, we are connecting with such people where they do camps. They are taking camps now because COVID is a little more relaxed. Otherwise, that is how we can reach out. And we do have patients coming in from far off villages also. And the doctors are now, because we have connected with the doctors, sent them the awareness videos. So the doctors are telling the patients, some of them, that they can call us and take the free knockers. And they do call us from wherever they are. Sometimes it is a doctor or the nurse's phone they use to call us up. And I tell them, you can go back home and email me all these details. That is when we have a problem. They do not have a smartphone. Then I have to tell them, please ask your son, daughter, daughter-in-law, whoever is there, to call me and I will talk to them. We get it done that way. There hasn't been a single patient who has not been able to get a knocker because of not being able to send an email or something. Yeah, it happens.
Okay. That's really good to know. And what is it about, you did mention the mercerized cotton and, the kind of process that you follow. So what makes it different? Yeah, it'd be good if you can hold it up for everyone who's attending.
This is a knitted one. This is a crocheted one.
Okay. So sometimes, women have, I was reading up and looks like silicone prosthesis often has things like infection, rashes. And so what's it about these?
Not infection. I think silicone, basically everybody finds it. Silicone is very heavy. And because of the weight and the material that is there inside, maybe because of our climatic conditions in India, they find it very hot, humid and heavy. And so the women don't want to wear it. So they wear it only when they are going out for a party or a wedding or some such thing, and they don't wear it otherwise. And to be honest, the silicone is something not everybody in our country can afford. The general population which is undergoing mastectomy cannot afford a silicone breast, because the silicone breast is anywhere from, I think, 6,000 to about 20,000. And for a woman who has undergone mastectomy, the very fact that she spent so much of money, her family has spent so much of money on her treatment, does not give her the freedom to say, I need a prosthesis. So many cases, it is just, she doesn't even know. To the extent doctors have told me now, how come we were not aware of this? Now, I don't know why you were not aware of this. Because they say this, there are women who have come in with paper rolled into their bra to the doctor for follow-up. That's what they say. In 2016 or so, one doctor told me, we did a survey and I found many women who come into the clinic for follow-up and they just have something in their hand rolled up. When I ask them, they show it's paper. The reason they have rolled it up and put it into the bra. And so this is something that goes, nobody wants to spend, and this is free now. So there are many who can pay for it. And they do tell me, we'll pay you for it. I said, no, this is free. So we are giving it free to everybody. It doesn't matter what income, where you come from. It is free for all. And those who can afford to pay, I said, I always try to bring them in as a volunteer, because that is what I like, because then they can, they can be with us for a longer period. And yes, and this is something that we use. This is the fiber fill that I use for the filling. This is virgin fiber, polyfiber, and it is not recycled fiber. So it is very nice. And it sort of becomes like this. So that it is not affordable, basically. And those who have got silicone breasts also say it's very heavy, we're not able to use it. We don't use it. But yes, some doctors have said that you need to have a balance in the breast that you take out. That is why the silicone is customized for them. But the lady says, the woman in her says, no, she's not comfortable with it. But there are people who are very comfortable with the silicone breast, and we have no problem. I mean, there was actually one occasion when I did have a lady telling me, she asked me for this because the doctor told her, and she took it from me, and then she calls up and she says, this is very light. Ye mujhe acha nahi lag raha hai. This is not like what I have. Then I asked her, do you have a silicone one? She says, yes, I have two. One from US and one from Australia. And how are you feeling? She says, I'm very comfortable. I said, then sorry, this is not for you. This is not for you because you're very comfortable with it. And and she is one of the ones she's one of the people who doesn't have to work. She doesn't take the public transport to work. She is at home and she's in an AC environment throughout, and it's very comfortable. But generally, especially the working women, find our knockers very comfortable because it's easy to go out with. And they don't need to buy a bra. Their old usual bra that they were using can be used for this.
Yeah. And it suits our weather. So that's one important thing.
You don't sweat much. You do sweat. I'm not saying whatever you do, you will be sweating, but it's washable. We are giving it something which is washable. So we give you a two when you're a single mastectomy. You can wash one and you use it for the other one.
Okay. Before we move on to the questions which are in the chat box, just quickly want to ask you, what has been the reaction of the medical community? Have you found help and support? Like you said, one doctor mentioned to this lady. What sort of feedback have you had there?
Generally, the doctors are very favorable. At least post-mastectomy, they say they can use ours. No problem. That gives the lady the time to decide what she wants to do. Post-surgery, immediately after surgery, maybe about, once the sutures and all are healed, it gives them, they need to use something. They need to decide what they want to go in for, either reconstruction or a silicone or whatever. That is for those who can afford to think about it. So this gives them the time in between gap. They like to use something. They have to use something. They say they use this. And I'm okay with it. I have no problem. You can once stop using it and go in for reconstruction or anything. And if you can't, you have no other choice. You're going to use a dupatta or a thing, or you can use this. But generally, no doctor has been against what we are doing. They said definitely post-operative mastectomy patients can use this. And it's a choice of them to make a decision when they want to go.
Right. And it's important that there's a choice available.
Yeah, there's a choice.
Okay. So to know, do people, the beneficiaries ask for replacements? You've already mentioned that they're washable, but do beneficiaries ask?
They last, the lifetime of these knockers is at least 18 months to 2 years, minimum. And it lasts. And we have just started 3 years ago. So we have replaced 1 or 2 of them. But most of them are okay with it. Very few, like this lady, I told you last in our feedback that she uses it every day. Maybe she would need a replacement, maybe in 18 months. But generally, it lasts you 18 to 24 months. And we do replace. We will replace if there's a problem. Free of cost. We won't charge you for that too.
Rajam, we want to ask you this, how did you become part of this? I would call it a movement. How did you become part of this?
Somebody sent me an ad about Jayashree and what she was doing on the WhatsApp to me. And I looked at it and I got in touch with her because I'm a cancer survivor. I didn't have a mastectomy, but I had a lumpectomy done. And I've always helped people who have had problems, talking to them and, doing whatever I can. And it so happened 3 years ago, my daughter-in-law was also, one of my daughter-in-laws was diagnosed with cancer, and she also had a lumpectomy done. And I looked after her while she was undergoing radiation. And when this came up, I said, no, I must do something for this community of women who are suffering like this. And I got in touch with Jayashree. I went to the classes, I learned it. And I've been doing since then and sending it to her. I do the caps too and send her the caps for the children.
And how
many?
This is,
sitting in Amsterdam, I brought all the thread with me, and I've made about 35 knockers so far.
Wow. That's really, how many hours do you, spend on this in a day? Do you do this daily?
I do it daily, but not at a stretch, on and off, because here I'm cooking, I'm, taking care of my granddaughter. So between the times I sit and do the work.
And what kind of fulfillment, do you get from doing something like this?
it's a sense of satisfaction of helping somebody who can't afford it, and for them to look comfortable. I know a friend of mine who uses cloth into her bra, and I'm telling her about this, and I said, look, use this, don't use material like this, torn material. But she's not listening to me. But what do you do?
True. In fact, that's what I was trying to ask Jayashree.
In fact, my granddaughter, what she does is she grows her hair long and she cuts it and gives it to make wigs here in Amsterdam. She's done that 3 or 4 times now.
Yes. It's that fulfillment of helping someone.
Someone, yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rajam. If there's anything you'd like to share about, because you are also part of this community. So if there's something you'd like to share about, any other learning you've had before, we finish, that'll be really great to know.
I also work with this group in Bangalore, AHS, Underdance, and make these squares and send it to them. And then I make scarves and berets for Javans and send it to Delhi.
Oh, lovely. That's wonderful to know. And it's a great way to put your hobby to a good cause.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I learned it from my grandmother and my mother.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rajam.
Hi, everyone. This is Srividya here. I live in Chennai and have been actively involved with Saaisha for over 3.5 years now. And yes, it has been learning in many ways, because you tend to kind of mellow down in your life because you're handling people who are going through a crisis, which is beyond what one could imagine. I mean, for being a non-beneficiary or a non-cancer patient. It's like what really stays with me about making these knockers is when I heard Barbara Demarest, one of our, the lady who started knitted knockers out there in USA, and because of which Jayashree is doing what she's doing today. She said, our knockers are huggable. That stays with me every time I talk to anybody or any beneficiary or anybody who would like to know about knockers. I feel that kind of clearly demarcates how knitted knockers is way above the other processes that's available in the market, be it silicone, be it those padded bra cups, everything, because it gives the person the feel of the contour of a woman's breast and makes her feel whole again. And she doesn't have to bother about what people would feel when somebody hugs her, because they're never going to feel that she's got an artificial breast on. So that kind of has left a heavy impact on my mind, and I do every bit to see how I can help spread the word.
And how many hours would you sort of spend on it? At least?
I'm not able to spend much time knitting knockers, but I do everything in my might to see how I can spread the word around, to get more doctors in and to get more beneficiaries in, and help Jayashree in whatever way she expects support.
Thank you so much, Srividya. And, we'll finish in another 5 minutes. I wanted to ask you, are there beneficiaries who have become volunteers with you now, who are also doing this?
That is my first, whenever a beneficiary says, I'm finding it so useful, I want to do something, can I donate? I said, please be a volunteer. And we have quite a few beneficiaries who have become volunteers and who are very happy with what they're doing, because they are the ones who really know how it is to have a knocker or not have a knocker. So we have quite a few beneficiaries who have been volunteers now.
Given you, an insight into cancer, are you seeing more you of course mentioned the counseling part, but are you seeing more cases? What has your observation been?
I never knew there were so many breast cancer patients. I'm shocked to see that there are so many people. And, there's not a single day when I don't get a request by phone or somebody calling me. And you wouldn't believe, there is never a time when I always answer back. If there's a missed call, I call back. I've had 2 missed calls during this period now already. So once the meeting is over, I need to call them back, because it could be a patient who wants a knocker. And it is so very, very, it's sad And the more saddening part is I find there are people who are younger nowadays. Earlier when I started, it was just the older people who had 4-5 years ago and all that. Now it is younger, and it could be because there is better awareness and more screening is happening. But the younger ones, I've even come across people of the age group of 22 having a bilateral mastectomy, which is very, very sad. 22 and 25 with a bilateral. I don't know. That is when I find, it's, I think we need to educate the people to go in for awareness regarding screening has to be done more. And I keep telling my volunteers to all of you, please go in for your regular, you need to get yourself screened. You do start doing self-examination. All these things I feel we have to learn, we have to teach, because it is, the cancer is, they're starting it very young, very, very young. 20 and 25 and 27 and 32 with just going to get married the next month, and she's directed with cancer and mastectomy. These are the stories that we have. And it's very sad. I only hope that we can help by way of at least, we have to have screening and examinations have to be taught. We have to do breast examination on a regular basis. Each one of us has to teach the other to do it.
We need more.
And there are videos. Some of the doctors are having videos on breast examination, and they're teaching you how to do it. There are videos. One very nice one I saw was by Dr. Geeta Kareprat from Max Hospitals, Delhi. She's got one called Dr. G is her YouTube channel. And she's explained very clearly how to do a breast examination. She says you do it under the shower at least once a month on the same day. That's what helps you to catch it very early. And we need to teach this to our younger ones, your daughters, granddaughters, the daughters-in-law, that we have to do this.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jayashree, and all the volunteers. Thank you, especially Rajam, for joining us from there.